and China tech truce will ending a Google a broader deal. I can provide a detail in the USA, particularly as they related to U.S. China and technology. Tensions between the world's two laws are constantly evolving, and a lot has happened since the information you provided. The news about China ending its antitrust probe into Google is a very very recent development, and it's directly tied to the broader context of U.S. China trade and technology disputes. The great tech tussle, TikTok, Nvidia, and the Google Gambit. The current trending narrative in the US regarding China is a complex and high stakes dance of diplomatic industry, particularly as it relates to Nvidia. The news that China is antitrust probe into Google appears to be a direct result of the progress seen as a gesture of goodwill, tensions, and facilitate broader agreements with Washington. The TikTok tightrope the fate of the popular social media app. TikTok has been a central point of contention. US officials have long voiced national security concerns over the app's Chinese ownership, fearing that user public opinion. The US has been pushing for actions from its Chinese parent company, ByteDance. Recent reports indicate a U.S. consortium while leaving app recommendation algorithm. This delicate balance reflects the intensive pressure from both sides to find a solution that satisfies national security demands without alienating TikTok's vast user base. The Nvidia Nudge. Concurrently, the US and China are engaged in a fierce supremacy with a primary focus on semiconductors. The US has imposed strike export controls to advanced chips from companies like Nvidia, which are essential for developing cutting retaliatory move. China recently accused Nvidia of violating its antitrust laws in relation to a post acquisition. This move was widely interpreted as a form of leverage, a way to put pressure on the US to ease its chip export restrictions. The Google game. In this context, China's reported decision to end its antitrust investigation into Google is a significant, if not central, part of the puzzle. While the probe had been ongoing, it had not been a major. China is signaling its willingness to and its removing strained relationship. This action is likely intended to create a more favorable atmosphere and arguably more critical negotiations over TikTok and Nvidia. This base scripts 50 sentences of advice and questions mark. How will the framework deal for TikTok? Are we witnessing a new phase of U.S China relations? One where tech leverage is the primary currency. Could China move to drop the Google? What are the long-term implications for global tech or origin in a global interconnection world? U.S. lawmakers and security deal that might not fully addresses their concerns. Will this apparent de-escalation lead to a more stable trade relationship for it? Is it just a how can companies like Nvidia navigate the complex regulatory? Should the US and China establish clear rules for technology competitions to avoid future conflicts? Is the concept of a global open internet becoming a real relic of the past in a world of digital fragmentation? What role does domestic politics play in the ongoing TikTok negotiations, war on consumers, innovators, and the global economy? How will this all affects the stock market, particularly for companies with significant business in both countries? In China, how can foreign companies operate in China with the cons over them? Will this resolution on Google lead to a similar ending for China's investigation into Nvidia? Are the US and China seeking a true resolution or just a series of temporary fixes? What the best way for the US to protect its tech leadership without resorting to isolationism? Should the US government be more transparent with the public about its national security concerns regarding foreign tech? Could the TikTok deal lead to a wave of similar forced diversion companies? How will this entire saga affect these trade talks from each country's perspective? Is the US truly willing to ban a platform used by millions of its citizens? Or can the global community find a way to establish a new order for across-border technology? How can smaller nations protect themselves from being caught in the crossfire? Is there a scenario where both the US and China can achieve their goals without mutual economical and social consequence of a ecosystem? Should we be more concerned about data privacy from domestic tech companies than from foreign ones and businesses? Is this a moment of de-escalation or simplify a strategic rating cross airs in the future? Could the US use its own antitrust laws as a reciprocal tool against Chinese companies about the future of the internet? Is a complete decoupling of the TikTok and Nvidia sagas about managing geopolitical risk? How can the private sector influence these government to government negotiations? What is the best way to ensure that technology serves just national ones? How will the fine TikTok deal be enforced and tech power like India change the dynamics of this rivalry? Is it possible for the US to find a shared path for technological progress? How will the rest of the world react? Will the U.S. maintain its hardline stance on chip exports, or will border deal? What happens to the valuable users' data collected per day? Is the current climate of district making happen? How will the final terms of the TikTok deal impact the app's ability to innovate and compete? What are the geopolitical chess moves happening behind the reported Google decision to for U.S China relations, and will technology always be at the center for it? Please like and subscribe and comment. This is the imagination figures. Deal or no deal? Tech truce. U.S and China. Future of tech. They are meet or not? Thanks, friend. We will meet next episode. Please like, subscribe and comment.